This is XN Anderson. Welcome today to the Principal Podcast. Today, I am pleased to have Jordan Jones with us. Jordan Jones is a fitness enthusiast. He's one of the most fit guys I've met. He's a business owner, a father of three. Jordan, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
I'm excited to be here with you, Hussein, and make this relationship happen.
Yeah, one of the things I was impressed when I met you, Jordan, well, there's a number of things, but one of the things that strikes us first as you come out is you're a guy who, you're a go-getter, you're a father of three, and you're also extremely fit. You take care of yourself, which I'm sure affects everything in life. Tell us a little bit about how you do that.
I think it's where to start, right? A lot of people have the desire to lose weight, to improve their physical health in every aspect, right? And it's knowing where to start. And for me, to be honest with you, I was influenced by a guy in my BNI networking group, someone who mid 30s, looked good, jacked, had a business going. And in this time, I was just starting my business, right? I was 40 pounds overweight. And really, it was asking the question to that individual, what do I need to do to start getting on or where you are? And he looked at me and he says, if you could control your eating, you've got the world dominated. So
Wow. Got
there's
tingles when you said that. If you can control your eating, you've got the world dominated. Wow.
correct. And growing up, Exane, my life and everything about every abundance meant to me. Growing up in a little town, essentially in a third world country, that anytime food was a luxury, and being able to go buy it anytime you want, and having the money to say, I'm going to go eat Dave's Hot Chicken today, then I'm going to go to Market Street, then I'm going to go get McDonald's right before I go to bed. And I thought, believe it or not, that was abundance. That was, man, I made it. I made it. I've got the money to go to five-star restaurants, to whatever it is. It's not even going to hurt my bank account, man. I'm just going to go eat wherever I want. And that in itself was a lack of control I was never able to implement in my life. So that right there was a first step for me to start looking at everywhere else in my life I was, what's the word I'm looking for, falling short on. Yet it was so simple. The littlest thing, right? The food. How do we balance our food? And I paid this guy $10,000 to help and structure a diet plan for me over the entire year. And I would meet with this individual every 2 weeks, do a BMI, I would check my body mass index, and we would create a meal plan specific to me. Now, a lot of people don't have the money to just go pay a nutritionist or a dietitian to go in and help you. And the most simple way, after all of everything I've gone through over these last 2 years of learning about diet, when to balance your carbs, when more protein, when do you want to eat chicken versus steak, right? These are all things I'm learning. And the most important thing is, if that's too much, there are methods out there, cheaper ways of learning how to balance carbs, proteins, and fats. And after my program was done to say I was 100% versed in balancing my carbs, fats, and proteins, I wasn't. So, Exane, I have learned and leaned onto other forms like ChatGPT that I regularly use. I know a lot of people they don't like AI. Some people are against it. But in my case, I have leaned into it and carved my whole life, fitness life, around ChatGPT. Every 2 weeks, I upload a picture of myself into this, and then I let Chat give me the feedback where I need to do, and then structure my workouts and my diet for that following month. And I do everything I can to follow every meal. And to say, am I perfect at it? No. I'm right in that 85%, 90% of following every meal perfectly. Sometimes I miss, sometimes friend comes over, sometimes we'll go get a steak or a burger or right. I cheat on my calories in those moments. But it was asking questions. If I go back and say, how did you get here? It was asking a good question. And I was willing to take the first step no matter what that cost was, whether it was 10,000, whether it was going to the gym the next day, I was ready for action, right? There's a lot of um, people, I mean, a lot of us are guilty in the sense of always asking questions, but never doing anything about it. And why don't we do anything about it? And I think ultimately comes down to complacency. We all want to be comfortable, warm, happy, no pain, no stress. And I'm afraid to say in my life, the times I'm leaning into those moments of stress and pain is growth happens. The really radical authenticity is what I really want to talk about. Authentic with yourself, am I where I want to be? And what am I going to do to get out of it? Is the next thing I would be talking about. Um,
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I like what you just said there is being willing to lean into the pain instead of saying I'm going to stay comfortable. It's comfortable to sit on the couch. It's comfortable to eat potato chips and watch TV. But you're saying if I can lean into that pain, that's where the growth happens.
right.
Um, I love that.
I'd love to give you another example too. For instance, a conversation with your significant other, radical authenticity in saying how you really feel about something.
Sure.
And I think we're all afraid of it, right? We don't want to hurt our partner or the one we love the most. And that those in moments, it's just like, it's only for you to say where that scarcity is or that moment of afraidness is and dealing with that. And if you can and stop and say, okay, I'm afraid because of this, and what's stopping me because of this, you'll figure out that it's all our own self limitations. There's nothing out there limiting you. Everything, this whole system is for you. It's built for you. I exist for you, Ixane. All of this is for you. It's just your own mind saying, what am I going to do to take the first step? How am I going to take the first step? And that's only up to you to figure it out.
Mhm.
But
I
I
think
think it starts
something,
with radical authenticity. Sorry.
no, I like that. I like that. I was thinking when you said something that you said if you're willing to be radically authentic and say, hey, I'm afraid of this or whatever it is, and that's what's limiting me. You reminded me that there was somebody who said that, anger is kind of a secondary emotion. When we feel anger, usually it's because underneath we're feeling afraid of something or hurt about something. And being able to be radically authentic and say, I've been afraid to go to this, to do this thing. Like maybe it's even to control my diet or to go out and exercise, even though it's going to be painful. I'm going to have to acknowledge the fact that I'm not fit, or maybe I'm going to have a crucial conversation with my, significant other or spouse about something that's really important. Um, but being willing to lean in and be radically authentic, I like that. And sometimes it's painful.
It's very painful. I don't think any of us want to accept the faults in ourselves. And and you can take that too far, right? Let's spin this out. I am guilty of being so hard on myself that I never take action.
Mm. I think we
And
all are.
so right now, more than any time in my life, like saying I am just listening hyperware to this little voice in my mind and telling this little voice in my mind, I am capable, I am powerful, I am strength, I am fit, I am love, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. And so I wake up every single day, even though I'm not some of those things. I'm telling myself I am going to be those things. And then I'm being radically authentic and saying, okay, what do I need to do now? There is no tomorrow. What do I need to tell my wife now? Because if I don't have tomorrow, and I'm just the best thing I think we can do, I think it all really starts in, oh man, this is such a heavy subject for me. I'm having a hard time putting my words together, but how do we balance a healthy dose of being negative towards yourself and pushing you out of yourself? Like, hey, I got to make a change right now. I got to be uncomfortable. And then the other part where everything is perfect as it is. So that voice of saying, hey, you need to get out and do something, or and everything is perfect the way it is. This duality of how do we balance that? And to be honest with you, I'm learning more than ever in my life how to balance those two voices and giving myself grace and authenticity throughout the process. But gosh, man, I could go down this list. And so, giving yourself through this grace, you're going to have these hiccups. You're going to fall. You're going to say the wrong thing to that person. Then, what do? Give yourself grace. Hey, you didn't know. Forgive yourself. How do I work through the process of forgiveness so I could then implement this? I'm sorry, Xane, I let you down and I didn't follow that dieting program. Do you know what I mean? But what am I going to do now? Right? I'm not going to keep beating myself up until I self destruct. How do I stop myself from thinking self destruction? Right? How do I turn that? Um, gosh,
Yeah.
dude, I'm going off on a tangent here. Like saying I'm
No,
losing.
you're actually hitting on some really deep stuff, and I love it, Jordan. This is good stuff because I think so many people struggle with this. I want to achieve, but yet I'm not. And I think that's being radically honest. Like even you were talking about, you have this great diet. You're one of the most jacked guys around as far as physically strong. And even I think, and everybody hits this. They're saying, well, I did it, but 85% of the time I'm doing it, and 15% of the time I kind of not doing it. Well, you can give yourself grace and say, I'm going to keep trying. I think a lot of people, they hit that and they say, well, I messed up, so I'm just going to quit. And and I think it's that principle of getting up again and again. I got to tell you one thing you reminded me of too. One time I was taking a trip with my family, and I just bought this little tent trailer, and it was late. We were pulling into a state on the other side of the country, and it was probably 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm trying to park this trailer. The truth is, I didn't know how to park it, and I was getting irritated, and I was being a little grumpy, and I was saying things to like to my spouse that I shouldn't have said because I was just being grumpy. And there was a guy next to us in this camp spot. He could see we were having difficulties, and he came over and he said, "Hey, can I help you park your trailer?" And I said, "Yeah, I sure," but I was a little bit just annoyed because here I was, not looking like I was the strong guy in front of my wife, and was just annoyed. And I was a little sharp with the guy too. I said something just a little sharp. And anyway, he held back the trailer. He was way better at it than me. Next morning, I went over there and I go, "Hey, I just want to say sorry. I was a little bit of sharp." I went to the guy and I had to go to my own family and say, "Hey, I'm sorry I was sharp." But the guy looked at me and he goes, "Hey, are you a believer?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, then you get it. Like, don't worry about it. Totally forgive it."
Hmm.
And that one moment took like 2 minutes. He's like, "We all need it, so you're forgiven." And to me, that just made a difference. I thought, you know what? He literally just let it go. I'd made this mistake and he showed me grace. And it actually was a great example for me because I'm like, you know what? I can show grace to my family. I can show grace to my spouse when she maybe isn't having a good day and says something sharp to me, or to, or my kids when they're a little bit grumpy or whatever it is. Kind of made the difference. But you're right, because I think all of us, Jordan, we have this idea of how things should be. And the truth is, at times all of us, we're not 100%. We fall short. being able to give grace to ourselves, be able to give grace to others is you're hitting on like one of the crucial things in life. So I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you're being
Yeah.
radically authentic with us on the show here because this is helping our viewers. So thank you.
You know what? May I add to that scenario you had with backing the trailer up, which I thought was a moment of humility for you in knowing, saying, I can't do this. And another man stepping in and doing something that you should already know how to do as a man.
Right.
And that I want to say that moment of like, man, I am just torn up right there in front of your family, right? Like that's a low spot, right? And man, I would feel torn up about that. And but it's moments of that humility and saying, "Hey man, I can't do this." And you just simply saying that and asking for the help, that is not necessarily a moment of weakness. And it is weak when you don't ask and you just keep struggling and struggling and struggling and just circling in that. You become weak, even weaker. But it's gosh, man, and I don't want to bring maybe I should bring religion into this or a believer, but humility is an important thing in order for us to make the next change in our life and saying, yes, I am wrong. You know, my wife, I constantly and saying, or whoever it is, it's saying, I want to be the first to say, hey, I could be wrong here. Tell me or show me how. And being open to prove me wrong. I'm okay. There is no if your answer is right and mine's wrong, it doesn't change anything. Do you know what I mean? Everything is perfect. But it's that moment of humility and asking for help, or luckily that guy came in and helped you. But gosh, those moments of change require great humility and saying, put my head down and say, yeah, man, I'm going to start and I'm going to change and I'm going to do this different. And the action you did was you went over to him and said, hey, brother, thank you for pulling me out of that hole. And he
Yeah.
immediately recognized you and said, you're you a believer, and took that as a moment of great lesson. And here we are talking about it because it was that powerful.
Yeah. No, I love that. The fact that you brought up humility, um, I love that you brought that up because that's so key to being able to. I love how you said that, Jordan, like being able to ask for help when we need it. And sometimes as men, we're like, I don't need any help. I got this. And you're right. I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't know how to back up this trailer. I now, since have learned, I now know how to back up, but I kind of had to admit to myself that I was bad at backing up a trailer until I learned. There's a guy I spoke to recently who was very successful in business and things, and he sent this quote to me. I wanted to read it and get your take on it since you brought it up here. He said, and he was quoting from a book. Um, he said, it goes like this: the more successful you are at something, the more convinced you become that you're doing it right. The more convinced that you are that you're doing it right, the less open you are to change. The less open you are to change, the more likely you are to tripping in a world that changes all the time. There's a million ways to get rich. He was talking about financial success. Obviously, that's not the most important thing. But he goes, but there's only one way to stay rich: humility, often to the point of paranoia. The irony is that few things squash humility like getting rich in the first place. He was quoting from somewhere, and I don't even know the name of the book, but he basically said, if you get rich, a lot of times the natural tendency is to say, hey, look at me, I made it. But he goes, if you want to stay rich, you have to be humble, almost to the point of paranoia, because the world's constantly changing. Be able to ask for help and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, or hey, things have shifted. What should I do now? And be able to have what you just said right there. Be radically authentic and say, I'm kind of afraid that I don't know what I'm doing. Can I have some help? And that, like you said, could be strength, not weakness. And I love how you expressed it better than I did, Jordan. But such a good point. Thanks for sharing that.
Definitely. I am doing everything I can to be authentic in that word. I put out to others and to myself, right? And that's really the invitation I probably would give your audience this week, this whole month. We're going into spring. We're just coming out of winter. Man, everything is blooming, everything is life. This should be a perfect week for everybody to just say, man, I am just going to be so thankful this week. And catch yourself when you're being negative. And if you start, boom, stop, or make it a goal with someone you appreciate and say, this is something I'm going to do this entire month. Whether it's thinking positive or doing 25 push ups in the morning, set a challenge. Where do you want to make that change? But for me, I personally think it all starts in the mind. If you could control your mind and you believe you are capable, if Xane's capable of doing XYZ, you'll believe it and you are capable. And pretty soon you're like, you surprise yourself in these moments of, holy crap, dude. Whoa, dude. You know? But if that mind, if you're just saying, I'm not capable, I'm not capable, I'm not capable, you'll never get there. So I think making this entire month a goal to saying I'm just going to think positive every single day, radically positive, and be thankful. Look around you. Look at the trees blooming. Smell the air. Like look at the listen to the birds, and just like take a minute and look around and start being thankful because that attitude spirals everything into goodness. Your business, your marriage, your friends, authenticity, and just gratitude and humility. Those three things get so hard to get to, but as long as you're aware of it, I think that is where change happens rather than being
Uh,
forced to do it.
Gosh, I got tingles when you're saying that, man. Those are words of wisdom, Jordan. Just to remember to be thankful.
So grateful.
Even
And
when we're
this,
not quite reaching it, we can still be thankful, right? Like I set this goal for myself and I'm not quite there, but I'm going to be thankful for the birds and the trees and have this mindset that I can still do it even if I fall short a little bit. Keep going.
I'm just thankful to be on the journey, right? I'm thankful to be here and now. I'm better today than I was yesterday because of these things I'm thinking of all day long. I don't want to manifest bad experiences.
Give us some pointers of um, how you stay disciplined. Because I'm just circling back a little bit to the beginning. How is it that you stay this disciplined when you're thinking, okay, I've got to get up in this morning, hit the gym, but I'm not feeling like it? Or I know I've got to eat a certain diet, but man, it's sure tempting to go eat that junk food,
Right?
sitting on the side of the table or whatever. Do you have any pointers for people who want to be more disciplined in their life, mental, diet, exercise, those kind of things?
I think I made a promise to myself that I vowed to destroy the man I used to be, and I would never become that man again. And by making a radical change, meant following that diet, meant honoring my word, the littlest things, because I know what it's like to not follow those things. I have been homeless. I'm divorced. I've slept on a couch for months on end. I've had a bank account with overdrawn, negative credit cards blown, like exceeded. I have been there, like where I just can't even get out of it. You know, I don't even know what to do or think. And so that man I used to be scares me. And I will never, I hope and I promise, I hope I honor that promise to myself forever to never allow myself to become the man I used to be. I was before, right through that divorce process, before I had a business. Well, all of these things when I was at rock bottom of the barrel with a drug addiction. So what keeps me radically honest and what keeps me staying on this path is great fear of that person I could become. And I could become that person so rapidly by just stop doing the simplest little things. And that starts with your diet and your nutrition and the way you think about yourself. It's what am I going to put in here and what am I going to put in here that's going to dictate the entire difference of my life? Because if I just eat McDonald's every day, what is that going to have on my health and my mind? It's not going to make me think better. If anything, it's going to make me sluggish and slow me down, right? And you just, that's realizing, right? I just don't want to, I'm not going to go there, Jordan. Don't even go there, man. That burger, I know from Wendy's sounds real good right now. Just don't go there. Just try not to go there, right? And we will go there. Unfortunately, we will go there and have these hiccups. But once you do fail, what do? Right? How do I talk to myself after that event? Okay,
And you
shoot,
could say,
okay, slap on the wrist. Let's keep going, right?
no, I like that. Yeah, I like how you said, like, what do I talk? So a lot of the self-talk after that could be like, oh man, I blew it. I really am just a person who can't keep my commitments. And you could talk yourself into this, like, let's just throw it all out because I made one mistake.
Yeah,
But in reality, if you could say, you know, okay, I had a little bump, I'm going to keep going. I might have to pick myself up 100 times, but I'm going to keep going. And that's okay. Give yourself some of that grace, right? I like how you said you're gonna like you really wanted to change, and that thought helps you. But if we hit a bump, the self-talk after it's really important, right? Like, what am I saying to myself?
right,
I'm a failure, or hey, it's just a little bump. I can keep going. Makes a big difference.
right.
I also like what you said about the little things. You know, when you say the little things, when you can keep your commitment to yourself, if you start keeping commitments to yourself, you start to trust yourself.
Yes,
You start to say, okay, I'm going to get up at 5. Well, the alarm just rang, and goodness, I really want to sleep in for another hour. But when you get up, you still feel like, oh man, I did it. And there's kind of this sense of I can trust the commitments I make to myself. Now, once that happens, I think it's easier to make and commitments in every other area of your life when you have that personal self victory, right? Like, I'm going to do this today, and then you follow through. But then, of course, there's days where we don't follow through. And then that self talk that you talked about is really important. Like, does that mean I'm a failure? Does that mean I'm bad? Or does that mean I had a little bump and I'm going to keep going? I like what you said about the self talk. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think no, it's a very deep rabbit hole. You know, it's self-talk all day long is it's just you against the world, man. It really is no one else. You know, you and the relationship between your creator, whoever that relationship is with higher source. I think by in it's the opposition in all things. It's the black and white. It's the duality of all things. It's I think there's an important figure taught us that we should always ask, seek, and knock, and that the mysteries of the world would be unfolded unto us. And I think if we always ask, seek, and knock, and apply the advice as it comes to us, a lot of great things will happen,
Yeah, I love that.
whether
Jordan,
small or big. Yeah.
say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I said whether small or big. Yeah.
You know, this has been great. I love what you've said about authenticity, about giving yourself grace, about self talk, about being disciplined, how the little things really are the big things, being willing to ask for help. Is there anything else you'd want to share with our audience today?
That there are men out there and women who are going through what you're going through, or have got not. There's someone you can relate with. There's someone who can be a support to you in every aspect. It's just asking and seeking it.
Yeah, that's words of wisdom. Jordan, it's been awesome having you on the show today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
I the only thing I have active right now is a Facebook. I'm off social media. You can find a lot of information about our company, Ascent Solar and Roofing in Salt Lake. We've got Facebooks, Instagrams, and I think you could find a lot of information about me through there. But in terms of like personal social media, I try to stay off and as much as possible. But yeah,
That's probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing. Jordan Jones, it's been an honor to have you. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. Thanks for sharing the some of the pointers about how you've been successful and some of the ways that you think that can help our audience. Really appreciate you being on the show today.
thank you, Xavier.